Alright, so today we're going to fill out the auth form, and for that means that we're going to be installing Formik. And we're also going to install which is a schema validation, and that's just going to help us with form validation. And finally, is written in JavaScript without any type declarations, so we're going to add a dev dependency of @types So I'm going to make a new component called AuthForm that we're going to use inside of the auth page component. And this is where we're going to build our Formik form. So this is the normal React boilerplate that we're going to update. We're going to add a import statement for Formik here. The two most important components that we're going to be importing from Formik is the Formik component as well as the form component. I've also added the HTML given to us by Conduit for the submit button and the form group field set. The submit text is going to be based on the auth type, so I added props for login and register that we're going to feed into the auth form component. The form component also has an onSubmit prop that we're going to use. Right now we're just going to console log out the values, and for the button to work, we just have to add the type of submit to the button. And then finally, to finish out the form component, you need to add initial values, which we're just going to add the object of email, username, and password with empty strings in all of them. Wait, is it recording? Cool. Next, we're going to import the field component from Formik, and it takes in the same properties as a normal HTML field type. So we'll add type, name, and placeholder to all of the fields, and then we'll add the field for username and password. And then, of course, we need to add the Bootstrap class names to each of these fields. And save. And scroll. Now we can add the auth form to the auth component, or the auth page component. And the auth form is going to be inside of the row div, so that will be this one here. And make sure to add in the auth property. And with that, that should be good enough for our UI, so we can take a look at the running app and go into the sign up or the login route. Okay, I messed up somewhere. Auth form actually needs to be inside of this container up here. And each of these fields needs to be in its own field sets. God, I hate Bootstrap. Okay, with that update, your form should look like this. And then the register, we need to update it so it hides the username field. Hiding the username field is pretty easy. We just need to surround this with a conditional of auth is register. And there we go. So we could quickly switch back and forth by using this need an account or have an account button. And the field is now being hidden. Now if we open up our inspector and go to our console, I'm going to actually go to login. And if we do a submit, okay, well, we have some validation thanks to the HTML type. And if we do a submit, we're simply doing a console log right now. We need to update it so that on submit will actually send this to our effects in Overmind and actually log us in. I just realized you can't see that, so I'm going to clear this and do the submit again. And here is the email stuff. And if you haven't done so already, you can start the Overmind DevTools so that we can see all of the actions happening. But before we go into that, let's update our auth form to turn this into a return statement so that we could do some logic before returning the JSX. So we're going to be using the use overmind hook, and what we want from use overmind is going to be the actions. And we're going to define a handle submit function, which is just going to be taking one of the actions based on the auth. So I'm going to do the same conditional that I've been doing everywhere else. And then we're going to fill out this ternary based on which one. So for register, it's going to be actions.register. And then for login, it's going to be actions.login. And now we can replace this onSubmit with handle submit. Now let's test this out. I'm going to open up Overmind here. I'm going to bring our app to the right and also change this so that we have a little bit more space. So we'll close this as well. And this initial login is coming from our top level app component. But if we do another login here, what user was I using? This is like username at fmail.com. And if we do assign it here, we should see another login fire. And if we change the view to our state, we can see that, well, I mean, things are pretty much the same since we're using the same username or the same user. Now let's update our auth state a little bit, or actually our auth actions. So I'm going to update the auth state to include errors, and this is going to be a string. So a little quirk about Axios, to get the error response, the server response for the error, you'll have to do error.response. And once you do, this is what is given back to us by the official Conduit API. Our API is going to be a little different because errors is for Nest.js is just going to be an array. So the type that we want inside of state is actually going to be array of strings. And then we can set the default to be errors empty array. Now we have to update both login and register to accommodate errors. So in login, we're going to add state.errors into equals to an empty array to reset the errors. And then in our catch block, we're going to do errors equals. Okay, so this is a pretty complicated data response. So it's going to be .data.errors. And then we're going to transform everything inside of errors into one single array. So okay, so after a little bit of experimentation, this is the transformation function that I came up with. So I'm just doing an object.keys to get all of the object properties, and then creating a string where it's that property next to the error type or response. That way, in the auth form, we could add a little error card thing in case something went wrong. Not the auth form, the auth page component, because we want it right here. Alright, before we add that, we're going to need to grab the state.errors. So we're going to do use overmind and grab the state here. And specifically, we're going to get errors. And then we can just do a boolean to check the errors.length. If it's 0, meaning that the array is empty, then we're not going to display this next part, which is going to be an unordered list with a class name of error messages. And then we're going to map through the array of errors and just have a list item for each error. And now we could test out signing up with the user that we have been using to log in. And our errors are showed up. So that's good. But then we need to also add a key to each React component in the map. So for all of these LIs, I'm going to give the key of the actual error text itself, because why not? Now I'm going to go back into auth, and I want to make another action, which is also going to be an async action. And this action is going to be called Initialize User. And this Initialize User action is going to be replacing the mount login, because we're going to be taking the access token from local storage and seeing if the user is already logged in and making sure that they are logged in when the app starts. So we're going to grab the token from local storage and make sure that we add our loading states of authenticating. And if there is a token, we're going to call effects.setToken and then do an await of getCurrentUser, and then setting the state of current user to user. We will have to update the type of current user to also include profile response coming from our API models. And the reason why this is not inside of a try-catch is because we don't actually care if there's an error coming back. We're just not going to set the current user or errors. And then we need to make sure that we're exporting Initialize User in our actions. And once that's done, we can update the app component. And this useMount is instead just going to call actions.initializeUser. We could actually clean this up by destructuring Initialize User and then sending the uninvoked function into useMount so that it invokes it during the callback. And one final thing I want to do in this video is on the auth page, after you log in, I want it to redirect you to the home page. So in state from Overmind, we're going to get the current user and authenticating. Actually, we don't need current user. We could just use authenticated and have a simple if statement here. And the if condition is going to be if the user is already authenticated and they're not currently authenticating, we're going to do a return of redirect. And we're going to redirect them to the home page, which is at /. I'm not sure why, but reachrouter's redirect always throws an error for some reason. So there's a prop called no throw where you don't throw an error, which I don't know what that's about, but yeah, that's something you need to do. But once that's done, you can go to /login, and if you are already logged in, it'll automatically redirect you to the home page. I guess we need to add the key to the header prop. It's probably the page links. So, right here. So I'll just do key page 2. Alright, so I think we're good on authentication. I'm going to call it for this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. In the next video, we'll expand on this app, and not really sure what to do next, but we'll get there when we get there. I'll see you guys next time.